Metro Boomin just released his newest album for the new Spider-Man movie, and he used a lot of production strategies you can use when producing to get a futuristic, high-energy vibe in your tracks. In case you didn't know, TV shows and movies often use beats from independent producers in a process called sync licensing. Being able to produce similar style tracks is going to be a massive opportunity for you because film studios are always looking for high energy tracks they can use in different action scenes. Let me jump in and show you some of the secrets that Metro Boomin used when producing the tracks on this album, how you can use them too, and finish a beat that I think would sound great on the album. So this track here was one of my favorites on the album. I'm only going to play it for a few seconds to not get copyright striked, but this is the type of style I'm going to be going for. You hear this kind of high energy lead coming in and then also the beat coming in later. It's a classic kind of Metro trap beat, but it has a very futuristic style melody. So I'm going to try and create something similar to that. So I'm going to grab this Electra X preset here, and I'm going to grab this arpeggio here. And I'm going to start adding some layers on top of that. So I'm following a similar kind of style, but I've replaced it in another melody here instead of using the arpeggio. So we had the original arpeggio, but I also added this counter melody here. And this big lead that comes in later. And what I've chosen to do here is this lead doesn't follow the root note. So this chord progression starts on C, but I've decided to go and add one of the other notes in here, which is a G sharp. And then when the octave changes for the arpeggio, I've gone in and added that root note down here, which makes it sound so much more full when the melody goes down an octave. I also have this last melody here that I added. And now I'm going to go and add a drum beat on this melody. Fat 808 like that. Punchy kick. I usually grab a short snare like this that you can use for snare rolls later on in the beat. So I'm going to put a two-step hi-hat pattern. I'm going to go Control L, which is legato, I'm pretty sure, which goes and extends the length of these notes. And what this enables me to do is I can go in and change the magnet here to something like 1/4 step. I can select one note and I can click Control U and it's going to slice it up like this. And it makes it really, really easy to slice up hi-hats in whatever kind of timing you want. And you can go and add like 1/6, for example, which is going to sound like this. And it makes it really, really quick and easy to create high quality hi-hats. I've added in these low pitch hi-hat notes here, and I'm just going to lower the volume of them so they really blend into the track. I'm also going to go and add some different effects, panning, volume, and automations to these hi-hats here, just to add a little bit more depth to them as well. And something cool you can do with these snares here is kind of roll them into the actual clap and the main snare like this. to go and add a kick pattern, and I'm going to click record and just play it with the arrow note on my keyboard, which is middle C. Control Q to quantize. One very important thing I noticed that Metro does is change the volume of his kicks, and you'll notice that his kick and 808 don't always hit at the exact same time at the exact same volume, and that stops the beat from feeling really repetitive with the same kick and 808 coming in at the same time. So what I like to do to kind of mimic this is change the volume of some of my non-main kicks. So the kicks that come in at the start of a bar or on a chord change, you want those to be really punchy, but some of these other fill kicks like this one, I go and lower the volume of them. And all you have to do if you want to make this back to normal is hold down Shift and drag across here, and it's going to normalize the level of anything that's in this sequence here. One other thing that I've changed is the timing of the kick and the 808s. So you'll notice some of the 808s come in after the kick, which adds like a cool delayed effect where the kick comes in and then the bass comes in, and it really keeps your listeners guessing on what's going to happen and stops the 808 pattern and the kick pattern from sounding really, really repetitive and boring. I'm going to grab all of these tracks and send them to the mixer and then go ahead and mix them. One thing I noticed with all of the mixes that Metro Boomin does is they don't sound very crowded, they sound extremely clean. Like all of the layers mixed together extremely perfectly. And I'm sure he has an engineer that goes through and does some of this for him, but I'm going to show you how to get your mix to sound really clean. It's like he has a perfect idea in his head of what artist is going to be on the track, and he knows how to get them to fit on it by not having EQ ranges that clash, not having kick and 808s that are too loud, and it just really helps the artist actually fit in the beat properly. And a lot of producers will overcomplicate their beat and overcomplicate their mixing, and it will make things sound really crowded, and then when a rapper goes to record on a beat, he's going to listen to it and have no idea where he needs to actually fit on that beat. So I'm going to show you how to mix it really cleanly. I go and send every layer to the mixer track, and I go one by one and listen to them, set the volume, and go and add different EQ. I'm going to add some reverb to this one to make it sound wider. So what you'll notice when looking at the EQ range for this melody here is that there's EQs down all the way where the bass and the sub is going to be, and also some up really, really high. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this to the 20 Hertz to 18,000 Hertz preset, and I'm going to use this high and low pass filter to crop off some of these low frequencies and the high frequencies that don't actually change how the melody sounds, but they're going to secretly crash with your other layers. So as you can see, we cut off all of this bass down here, which doesn't make the melody sound any empty and less full, but it's going to stop it from crashing with the 808 when we try and mix it. Look at how much bass was in this melody. All of this is going to be crashing with the frequencies of your 808 if you leave this in. And you can hear that this bass fits in perfectly and doesn't sound like it's crashing with any of the layers. One other thing you can do, I do it sometimes, is you can change this, you can change the stereo separation to 100% merged, and what that does is that means that your left ear and right ear are hearing the same thing, which is really going to help you actually understand where the levels are, because it's going to make it so much simpler when you're listening to it. Just remember to turn it off when you're finished. And what you'll notice is when I finish here, the actual volume isn't coming up all the way to the top. So what I can do is I can go in and add a maximizer, which is going to increase the volume, but it's not going to clip. So I'm going to grab Isotope Ozone 9. I'm going to go to the maximizer. See, we got it up to that around 0 decibels kind of meter, which means it's really hitting hard. But as you can see, it's not distorting and the compressor isn't needing to lower the volume that much. I'm going to click split by channel and I'm going to go through and arrange these layers here. That's pretty much this beat done. What we have is this intro here, and one thing I like doing is pretty much at the 8 bar or 16 bar mark when the beat comes in, that's when the verse is going to start and the artist is going to come in. And when that happens, you don't want to have all of these really intense melodies coming in. I like to take a lot of the melody layers out, start with the non-intrusive melody layers, take out some of these extra perk layers here, and pretty much what that means is when the beat comes in, you're really going to be able to focus on the actual drums themselves and the artist that comes in, and you can bring in some of these layers at a different time. So I'm going to play through the finished beat. If you want hundreds of royalty-free samples and MIDI, check out the top link in the description where you can get the Legacy sample pack with hundreds of royalty-free samples and MIDI, but it's not going to be free for long. Let me play the finished beat.